This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
This Parsha, Shelach, of course, talks about the Meraglim, the spies who were sent out to spy out the land. Interesting, just in general, we have two different terms. Sometimes we have the word Meraglim, spies, Leragel, to spy out. We have the word sometimes V'yasuru, or Tayarim. So actually the word Meraglim means to look for the weak points, the bad points, the vulnerability. The other word, V'yasuru, could refer to looking for the strong points, the positive points. And we find when Yosef accused the brothers of being spies, he said Meraglim atem. The word Meraglim specifically refers to those who look for the weak points of the land. Okay, but in any event, what we're going to try to understand, everybody have a sheet? Try to understand is the whole idea of what in the world were these Meraglim trying to do? What did they think they were going to accomplish? Ribbon Shalom told them, I'm giving you Eretz Tova, a good land. If God tells you I'm giving you something good, you could trust Him. If the Creator of the universe says I'm giving you a good land, then it's a good land. What did they think they were going to accomplish? They're going to argue on God? They're going to disagree with God? Hashem told them it's a good land. And yet, on the other hand, it seemed like they had a valid point. They come into Eretz Yisrael, and they see everybody's dropping like flies. They go into the land, all they see is levaya after levaya, funeral after funeral, eulogy. Everybody's dropping dead like flies. Shkayach. Everyone's dropping dead. So it seems like, they had a valid concern. They had a real taina. They seem to have been correct. Look, they go into the land, and everybody, wherever they go, there's levaya after levaya, funeral after funeral. It seemed like it was a bad land. It seemed quite a disturbing place. And all they do is they look around, and they see these big mutants, these big giants. It looks like some kind of, maybe some oil spill happened over there, that all these funny-looking people, maybe near Chernobyl, you see these animals, these, mutated animals, because they see these big giants, so, how could you blame them? They see everybody's dropping dead. They see, very strange-looking people, and what do you expect from them? Obviously, there's something wrong with this land. There's something wrong with the air, something wrong with the water, right? If you see these kind of people, you got to suspect there's something bad with the air, the water, the food. And yet, on the other hand, God said it's a good land. So how does this all jive? Okay, so what we're going to learn today is when you come out tonight from the shiur, you're going to have a different perspective on land. Land in general, what is land? How do you conquer land? What do you have to do? Okay? Okay, so if you remember, we start with number 2. We have a very interesting Maramakom, the Imrei Pinchas. The Pinchas Karatzer, he was one of the original Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. And he said something amazing. In Sefer Yehoshua, remember in this week's Parsha there's somebody by the name of Kalev. Who's Kalev? Kalev is the brother-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. And he's one of the spies who comes back with a good report. And the Jews are trying to conquer Eretz Yisrael. They conquer Yericho, they conquer Ai. They're having trouble with one city. The name of the city is Kiryas Sefer. And today in Eretz Yisrael there's a place, Kiryat Sefer, but I assume this is a different place. They can't conquer Kiryat Sefer. So Kalev is getting fed up, and he makes the following offer. Look at number 2. V'nira d'hinei ksiv, the following is written. Vayomer Kalev, Kalev said, Asher Yaked as Kiryat Sefer, whoever conquers Kiryat Sefer, whoever conquers Kiryat Sefer, v'lachta, and captures it, I'm giving you a reward, right? Like in the old cartoons. V'nasati lo yas achsa biti leisha. I will give them my daughter Achsa as a wife. Okay? So Kalev says, whoever conquers the Kiryat Sefer, the reward is you get to marry my daughter Achsa. Now, Achsa was no ordinary woman. The Gemara says, why was she called Achsa? The root of Achsa is Ka'as. Anyone who saw her got angry at his wife. Why? Because she put anybody's wife to shame. She was very good looking, and anybody who ever saw Achsa would get angry at their wife. Now it's very interesting. Why would they get angry at their wife? What did their wife do wrong? So you see from here, deep down, sometimes you get upset at your wife. You think it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of something she did. No. Sometimes deep down it's because you saw somebody who you like the way they look better. That's what Chazal say. So Kaleb said, whoever conquers the city of Kiryat Sefer, I will give them Achsa, my daughter, as a wife. And who conquered it? Vayokeda Asniel ben Kenaz. Asniel ben Kenaz conquered the city. Okay? So Asniel ben Kenaz, when he heard, I get to marry Achsa, bam, he conquered the city. That's a simple meaning. But that's not really what happened. For Darshu Chazal say in the Gemara in Tzmura, She'acharei P'tirasei shel Moshe, that when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, B'mei Avelo, when everyone was mourning for Moshe Rabbeinu, Nishtakchu mi Yoshua shalosh me'os halachos. Yoshua forgot 300 halachos. During the mourning for Moshe Rabbeinu, 300 halachos were forgotten. V'lazeh hiskaven Kalev. This is what Kalev meant. Asher yakes Kiryat Sefer. Whoever smites the city of Kiryat Sefer, v'lachta, and captures it. Kalev didn't mean whoever conquers the city of Kiryat Sefer, I'll give them Achsa, my daughter. Because after all, Kalev's a big tzaddik. You think he wants to offer his daughter to some big, Hulk? Some big soldier? Some guy in, some marine? Some big warrior? No. He wanted to give his daughter to a big tzaddik. So you know what he meant, whoever conquers Kiryat Sefer? Whoever is able to allow us to remember those halachos that were forgotten, Ad Sheba Asniel ben Kenaz, till Asniel ben Kenaz came, the Hachsirim b'Pilpulai. And he brought back the halachos with his power of learning. In other words, the simple meaning is, Kalev said, whoever conquers the city of Kiryat Sefer, I'll give them my daughter Achsa as a wife. No, that's not what happened. You know what Kalev said? Whoever reminds us of the 300 halachos that were forgotten in the morning of Moshe Rabbeinu, I will give them Achsa as a wife.
Why Kalev needs to say that? Why Yeshua needs to say that?
Why did Yeshua say it?
He didn't have kids, I know.
Maybe he didn't have the reward. What?
He didn't have kids, but...
I don't know why. But there seems to be two things going on here. The simple meaning, that Kalev said, whoever conquers the city, I'll give them Achsa. And the deeper meaning, whoever reminds us of the 300 halachos, I'll give them Achsa. So what we have over here is, what the Imrei Pinchas is going to do, is he's going to put the two together. The simple meaning and the deeper meaning, it's all the same. And everybody knows, Bereshis bara Elokim. God created Bereshis because of Bereshis. What's Bereshis? The Torah. The world was created for the Torah. Without the Torah, the world couldn't exist. Right? We all know that when Hashem offered the Torah to the Jewish people, Hashem said, here, you want it? Take it. Otherwise, I'm going to destroy the world. So, we always think of it, there's a Torah. It has to be accepted. If it's not accepted, the world couldn't exist. No, it's more than that. Every part of the Torah gives life to a different part of the world. So in other words, maybe when you learn Hilchos Netilas Yadayim, that gives life to Africa. And when you learn Hilchos Nida, that gives life to Australia. And when you learn Hilchos Shabbos, that gives life to America. Every part of the Torah corresponds to a different part of the world. And if you would want to conquer a certain country, so if you were on a high enough level, you would be able to hone in, zoom in on the part of the Torah that corresponds to that country. You would master it, and then you would master that country. If you want to conquer a certain city, you would have to hone in on a certain part of the Torah, master that part of the Torah, and then conquer that country. So therefore, when the Jewish people came into Israel, they're trying to conquer city by city by city. What do you think they did in preparation of conquering the city? They learned those laws, that part of the Torah that corresponded to that city. So you know why the Jewish people could not conquer the city of Kiryat Sefer? Because there was a part of the Torah that they forgot, and therefore that corresponded to that city, and therefore they couldn't conquer it. You know what part of the Torah that was? The 300 halachos that were forgotten during the Avelos of Moshe corresponded to that city. And that's why they were having such a hard time conquering it. Because they recognized that the 300 halachos that were forgotten during the morning of Moshe corresponded to the city of Kiryat Sefer. So you know what Kalev ben Yefuna said? Whoever conquers the city, I'll give them Achsa. But he also said, How are you going to conquer the city of Kiryat Sefer? By reminding us of those 300 halachas that were forgotten during the Avilos of Moshe. So really it's one deal. The deal is you got to conquer the city, you get my daughter. How do you conquer the city? By reminding us of those 300 halachos. Okay? Now let's read this inside. So this is the second paragraph in number 2. Let's read this inside. When the Bnei Yisrael came to conquer Eretz Yisrael, Osku Tamid, they involved themselves at all times, Ba'osa ha'halacha, with those halachos, ha'shayechas la'oso makam, that was connected to that place, sheratzu lichbosh, that they wanted to conquer, va'ayidei zeh kivshua, and by learning those halachos, they conquered it. You know, it's like every part of the Torah controls a certain part of, especially Eretz Yisrael. Kenella. V'lachin matzinu, we find, kishanilchamu al ha'ai, when they fought against Ai, what does it say the night before? Ksiv, Vayolen Yehoshua balayla hahu b'soch ha'emek. It says, Yehoshua slept on that night in the valley. What does it mean he slept in the valley? Vayolen can also mean he delved. In the valley can mean the depths of the Torah. Okay? The Isa Gemara, the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Melami, this teaches us, Shelach ba'omko shel halacha. He slept in the depths of the halacha. In other words, the hakavana, hu she'asak ba'osa ha'halacha ha'shayechas ha'ai. He engaged in those halachos that had relevance to ai. Va'idei zeh kivshuha. Okay? So in other words, what we're saying is, every part of Eretz Yisrael, you want to conquer it? You want to conquer Yericho? You have to learn Hilchos Yericho. You want to conquer Ai? You need to learn Hilchos Ai. You want to conquer Bnei Brak? You need to learn the Torah that corresponds to Bnei Brak. Every part of Eretz Yisrael has a certain portion of Torah that corresponds to it. Now look what he says. Ume'ata ole hapshat shel hamikros udrash chazal b'kona echad. Now we could say that the simple meaning of the pasuk and the agadata, it's all the same. In other words, Kalev says, you want to conquer the city? I'll give you achsa. Kalev says, you remind me of the halachos? I'll give you achsa. Because it's one and the same. So how are they going to conquer Ai? By mastering those halachos. So it's the same thing. He says, Ki be'emes higiu b'nei Yisrael l'Kiryat Sefer. The Jewish people come to Kiryat Sefer. V'ratzu l'kosha, they want to conquer it. Aval lo yachlu l'kosha, they couldn't. Machma shehashoresh v'hachiyos shel Kiryat Sefer, the roots, the source of life of Kiryat Sefer, ha'yoshayach la'osan ha'halachos, were connected to those laws she'nishtakchu b'mei avo shel Moshe, that were forgotten during the morning of Moshe. Okay? B'zeu she'amar Kalev, that's what Kalev meant. Asher Yaket Kiryat Sefer. What's the name of the city? Kiryat Sefer. Kiryat Sefer could also mean Sefer, for learning. You know who's going to conquer Kiryat Sefer? The one who reminds them of the halachos. So it's not two different interpretations that are disparate. They work. They both come together. Whoever conquers Kiryat Sefer, who's going to be that person? The one who reminds us of the 300 halachos that were forgotten during Moshe. He's going to be the one who I'm going to let marry my daughter Achsa. So what we're learning now is that conquering land, and especially Eretz Yisrael, you need more than a gun. You need more than weapons. You need more than infantry. You need to master the part of the Torah that corresponds to that land. The Torah is a Torah's Chaim. It gives life. It gives energy to every part of the land. You want to conquer? You need to master a certain part of the Torah. Okay, now we move on. Now, don't get scared. We're about to learn is true, but don't get frightened. Every human being has a head, has arms, has feet, has a heart, has a tabur, right? A navel, yeah? Land is not just land. Land, there's a head, there are feet, there are arms, there are eyes. Land is a personality. It has different body parts. How do we know this? Look in the Medrash. The Medrash says in number 3. Amar Rabbi Rachia b'shem Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Rachia said in the name of Rish Lakish. Kama shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'adam, whatever God created in man, bara ba'aretz l'dugmalo, God created in the earth. Adam yesh lo rosh, and the person has a head, haaretz yesh lo rosh. The earth has a head. Okay, maybe we don't know where it is. You go to New Hampshire, there's the old man of, what is it called? He died, whatever, there's the Mount Rush, whatever the head is, right? Earth has a head. Shenemar, the pasuk in Mishlei, V'rosh Afros Tevel, the head of the dust of the earth. So the earth has a head. Okay? Adam Yishlo Einayim, man has eyes. V'ha'aretz Yishlo Einayim, the earth has eyes. Shenemar, like it says, V'chisa es ein ha'aretz. Paro was afraid that you're going to cover the eyes of the earth. So the earth has eyes. Adam Yishlo Einayim, man has ears. V'ha'aretz Yishlo Einayim, the earth has ears. Shenemar, V'hazini Eretz. Right? The Navi Yeshaya says, the earth should hear. How's the earth going to hear if it doesn't have ears? So the earth has ears. Okay? Adam Yishlo Peh, man has a mouth. V'ha'aretz Yishlo Peh, the earth has a mouth. Next week's Parsha, what happens to Korach? V'atiftach ha'aretz es piyah. The earth opens up its mouth. Shenemar, v'atiftach ha'aretz es piyah. Adam Oichel, man eats. V'ha'aretz Oichel, the earth eats. Shenemar, in this week's Parsha, what did the Meraglim say? Eretz Ocheles Yoshveha, the earth eats up its inhabitants. Right? So the earth gets hungry. You know, maybe when there's an earthquake, that people get swallowed, the earth, it's very hungry. No, it gets hungry. Adam Shoiseh, man drinks, the ha'aretz Shoiseh, the earth drinks. Shenemar, Lam Tara Shamayim Tishtamayim, the earth drinks the rain. Adam Meki, a man expels, a man could vomit, right? Excuse the expression. V'aretz Mekia, the earth could vomit. Shenemar, V'loi Salki ha'aretz, God says, don't sin, otherwise the earth is going to spit you out. Adam Yishlo Yadayim, the man has hands. V'aretz Yishlo Yadayim, the earth has hands. Shenemar, V'aretz Hinei Rachavas Yadayim. And the Medrash goes on to say, the earth has legs, like it says, right? Unefutz Oiseinu Kanes, Mi Yarkisei Aretz. Where are you always saying? The ends of the earth. Yarkisayim, the legs, from the legs of the earth. A man has a tabor. What's a tabor? The navel, right? The earth has a navel. Man has an erva, the earth has an erva. What did Yosef say? You came, Liros says erva sa'aretz. And finally, the earth has feet. It says, the world will stand forever. You can't stand without feet. So there are body parts. The earth has body parts. Okay? So comes Rabbi Yitzchak Barditchev and he says, if whatever man has, the earth has, how many limbs does a man have? How many limbs are there? Ramach Ivarim, 248. How many sinews does a person have? 365. You have 248 limbs, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, 248 limbs. You have 365 sinews. A total of 613. 248 limbs, 365 sinews. How many positive mitzvahs are there? 248. Each mitzvah gives life, gives chiyas to a different part of the body. That's why you have to make sure to do all the mitzvahs. Each mitzvah gives chiyas to a different part of the body. How many negative commandments are? 365. By being careful in the 365 lavin, it gives life to 365 sinews. So the way we live is by performing the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are Torah Chaim, it gives us life. It gives life to our whole system. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Barditchev, if the Torah gives life to the 613 parts of the body, that means the Torah is giving sustenance to the 613 parts of the earth. Right? The earth also has 613 parts, 248 limbs, 365 sinews. So if you want to be in a land, you want to be successful in a land, you need to keep the Torah, especially in the land of Israel. Israel is the center of the world. You want to be able to maintain the land the same way if you want to be able to maintain your body. The Torah gives life to the body. You want to be able to maintain the land, you need to keep the Torah. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Barditchev, what does Hashem say to the Meraglim? He tells them, V'yasuru. V'yasuru comes from a lashon of Torah. V'yasuru as Eretz Canaan. Go there, learn the Torah, keep the Torah. That will pave the way for conquering it. V'yasuru as Eretz Canaan. You go to the land, you make sure to learn the Torah there. You make sure to keep the Torah. That's how you'll be able to conquer the land. So especially the land of Israel, it's different than all other countries. Especially Eretz Yisrael. If you want to conquer Eretz Yisrael, you want to be able to stay in the land, V'yasuru. It's dependent on the Shmiras HaTorah. Okay. Look at number 5. We have a very interesting Gemara. We mentioned this Shavuos night between Mincha and Marav. Now we're going to a new approach. Look at number 5, the Gemara in Bava Metzia. Amar Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav. What does the following pasuk mean? Mi holiest shachacham. Who is a smart man? V'yavei nesais. Who can understand this? Ba'asher dibar pi Hashem. And who did Hashem speak to? V'yagida. Somebody please tell me. Alma of the haaretz. Why was the land destroyed? Now, what period of history is this talking about? The first Beis HaMikdash. And the Navi is sort of baffled, bewildered. It doesn't understand. What's going on? Why is the land being destroyed? Now notice, he doesn't say, why are the Jews being exiled? The Gemara tells us why the Jews were exiled during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash.
The right translation is like lost.
What? Of the. Yeah, right. But Avad also is related in...
you can find it back.
Avad is lost. Of the, but in Hebrew, what's the binyan to stronger avad? Ibeid. What does ibeid mean? To destroy, right? So avad also has that connotation. Of the. Why did it go lost? In other words, why is the land being unsuccessful? But notice, the Navi doesn't ask, why are the Jews being exiled? By the way, do you know why the Jews were exiled in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash? Gemara tells us. Avodah Zarah, Gili Arayos, Shvichas Damim, the three cardinal sins, right? So the Navi's not asking why the Jews are being exiled and expelled from the land. The Navi's asking, why is the land being destroyed? Okay? So the Gemara says, take a look. Davar zeh amru chachamim v'loi pershu. The chachamim were talking about it, they couldn't explain it. Chachamim didn't know. Amru neviim, the prophets were talking about it, v'loi pershu, they couldn't explain it. Who was able to explain it? Ad shepirsha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, until Hashem himself was able to explain it. Shenemar vayomer Hashem, God said, Al ozvam es torasi. They forsook my Torah, Asher nasati l'fneim, that I gave them, and the end of the pasuk is, v'loi halchu ba, they didn't walk in it. Very interesting. Why was the land destroyed in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash? Because they forsook the Torah. What does one thing got to do with the other? Why? Just because I understand why they were expelled, why the Jews were expelled. They were expelled because Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, Shvichas Damim, idol worship, murder, illicit relations. But the pasuk is asking, why was the land destroyed? Because the Jews forsook the Torah? What does the land of Israel have to do with the Torah? But according to what we're saying, it fits in very nicely. In order to conquer the land, in order to be successful in the land is an organism. It has parts. The parts get sustenance from the Torah. If the Jews are going to forsake the Torah, the land is not going to have chiyus. And therefore, of the haaretz, the land is being destroyed.
But it's exactly like you described. It cannot be exist without the other. It means in order that Eretz Israel will be not destroyed, you need Jewish people over there to learn Torah.
Correct.
It's like the sun and the flowers. Follow together. You must have the Jews over there.
Correct. And we're gonna In order for the land of Israel to be the way it's supposed to be, and not be Eretz Ochelas Yoshveha, and not be producing these big mutant giants, and not killing everybody, the Jews need to be there. So it's what is it called? A symbiotic. What's the word? Symbiotic relationship, right? Each one depends on the other, right? The land needs the Torah, and the Jews need the land. Okay. One more thing, and then we're going to start wrapping it up. We have another Gemara. The Gemara in Gittin is talking about how many people the land of Israel contained. It talked about very large numbers. And a Tzeduki, a non-believer, a heretic, came to Rabbi Chanina, and he said, come on, there's no way Israel could contain so many people. They're very small letters. Look at number 6. Amar le'ahu Tzeduki le'Rabbi Chanina. A Tzeduki said to Rabbi Chanina, Shekuri mashkarito, you're lying to me. Israel can't contain so many people. Amar le, so Rabbi Chanina said, no. Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz Tzivik. It's the land of the deer. Mat Tzivi zeh, just like a deer. Ein oro machzik es basaro. The skin cannot contain its flesh. If you ever skin a deer, all of a sudden you see the skin contracts, and you wonder how in the world did this small piece of skin fit over the whole deer? But somehow when the deer is alive, it fits. When the skin is removed, it's impossible to comprehend how the deer fit into its skin. So Eretz Yisrael is like a land of the deer. Land of the deer. Ma tzviza, just like the deer, ein oro masikis besoro, the skin is not really able to contain its flesh. Af Eretz Yisrael, so to the land of Israel. Bizman sheyoshvin aleha, when we live in it, ravcha, it expands. The more Jews, the bigger the land gets. And we're not talking about expanding to Syria and to Iraq and to Egypt. We're talking about somehow the land itself is able to contain more. However, when the Jews are not in the land, gamda, it contracts. It gets smaller. It gets smaller. What? The Beis HaMikdash is even right. The Beis HaMikdash is even a greater example of that, how all the Jews were able to fit into the Chatzar, right? And they were able to bow down, and there was enough space. And even more an example of that is the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where the Aron was in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Aron Einam and Amida didn't take up any space. In fact, the Chassam Sofer says, we say on the night of Pesach, Kol Dichvin Yesei V'Yechal, all hungry people, they should come and eat. What do you mean come in? All the hungry people? You know how many hungry people there are? Are they going to fit in my house? No. But since Hashat Hacha L'Shan Haba Ba'arad Yisrael, since we have a tradition that not only will the shuls go to Eretz Yisrael, even a Makam Kadosh, like a place where there's a Seder, it's going to eventually go to Eretz Yisrael, so it has Kedusha, so then it could contain the holier of the place, there's room for everyone. Yeah?
I must say a couple of things about of the subject now. First of all, you can see now in Israel that it's true. I don't know, at least I saw my aunt. 11 kids, apartment left in this place. Everybody fed over there, food to everybody, amazing. I'm telling you, something amazing. But prior to that the Jew came to Israel, you can read Mark Twain description, journey. Really?
Okay, so good. Okay, very good. You're mechavein.
Good.
Kol hakavod.
Do we know which parts of the Torah?
See, it's like you bring the food and you think of the right shot. It's like a snail ben. It's like Kalev ben Yifuneh, snail ben Kenaz. You conquer the city and you get the.
Do we know which parts of the Torah correspond to the cities?
What?
Do we know which parts of the Torah? Because if you do, then the tzaddik,
I think we forgot which part corresponds to Gaza.
The people who learn could save Israel because they could pray so they could conquer and things like that.
Oh, so Lev Yerushalayim, or the heart, well.
Lev. That's also another example. That
Where do we say Lev Yerushalayim?
Daveru Yishaya. Alev Yushalai, right?
So that's part of that heart, yeah.
So listen to this. This is the Yetev Lev says the following. He says, it says Eretz Yisrael gets smaller and gets bigger. He says it's not just dependent on those who live in the land. It's not just you live in the land, it gets bigger. You forsake the land, it gets smaller. What we're referring to here is when the Torah is being learned, right? The Torah could get bigger. How could the Torah get bigger? You learn it. You apply, you extrapolate based on certain principles that you're allowed to understand the Torah. You learn the Torah, you extrapolate to new areas of halacha, you say chidushay Torah, you learn new insight, you're expanding the Torah. As the Torah gets bigger, the land of Israel is getting bigger, because we said the way to conquer the land is by learning the Torah. Each part of the Torah corresponds to a different part of the land. The more you learn, the Torah is expanding, the land expands. When you forsake the Torah, so to speak, the Torah is shrinking, the land shrinks. So the Gemara asks, Alma of the Haaretz, why is Israel being avad? Doesn't say why are the Jews being expelled. We know why the Jews are out of there. Because Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, but look at the land. What's happening to the land? Why is the land so infertile? Why is it shrinking? Why can't what all the Jews used to be able to fit in such a fertile land? Now it's tiny, it's cramped, it's infertile. What happened? Al Azam as Torasi, they forsook the Torah. You forsake the Torah, the land becomes a different land. So Israel and the Torah go hand in hand. Without Torah learning in Israel, the land cannot be sustained. What does God do? When God says, be careful, if you're going to be on the land and you're not going to keep the Torah, I'm going to expel you. You're going to be thrown out. Why? God's doing you a big favor. Because you can't exist in Israel without the Torah. It's like when the Meraglim came into the land. What did they see? Eretz ocheles yoshveha. They saw a land eating its inhabitants. Why? I thought it's a good land. Why is everyone dropping dead? Why are these big giants? Why is it so? The answer is because without the Torah, the land is not a normal land. The land can't be sustained, so everyone's dropping dead. It's like there's no air. Imagine if you had a big mansion with the most elegant tapestries and carpets and furniture, the most beautiful mansion in the world. But all the windows were boarded up, all the doors were boarded up. You have a guy, he went in there, he was thinking of buying it. He went in there for 2 minutes, Hatzalah came in 2 minutes later to carry him out. He didn't make it out alive. Why? What's wrong? It's the most beautiful house. It has great food inside, but there's no air. You can have the most beautiful mansion in the world, but if there's no air, right? You know what happens when you come and you leave your apartment for a while and you let the windows close and it's stuffy in there, right? But if no air comes in at all, it can't survive. It could be the most beautiful place in the world. So when before the Jews get to Israel, what? There's no Torah in the land. What do you have? You have the Canaanim. What are the Canaanim doing? Every abomination in the world. When before the Jews come into Canaan, Hashem has to warn them, don't do this that they used to do, don't do that they used to do. They did every bad thing in the book. So therefore the land, obviously, it's going to be Eretz Ocheles Yoshvah. Because the air of Israel is different than in everywhere else in the world. The air of Israel is the Torah. When you have a country without Torah mitzvos, watch out. It's dangerous. It's dangerous physically, and Chassam Sofer had something scary. It's dangerous spiritually. And Chassam Sofer says something, fascinating thing. You ever wonder? Sometimes people go to Israel, and instead of it raising them up and making them more holy, they sink. How does that make any sense? The land of Israel could make somebody go down in Kedusha. Says the Chassam Sofer, Israel has an amazing phenomenon. And that is, it's Mekadeshes HaKadoshim, it sanctifies those who are holy, Umetame HaTameim. It impurifies the impure. Somebody who goes there to sin, the land will bring you even down. The land will bring you worse. The land will make you worse off. What? No, not because you make a mitzvah. Somebody who is unworthy, someone who is sick, somebody who is a Rasha, he goes to Eretz Yisrael, the land will bring him down. The land itself will bring him down. You would think just the opposite. Eretz Yisrael brings everybody up. Eretz Yisrael gives everybody more Kedusha. No. Chassam Sofer says, what happened to these Meraglim? Here, they started off, Kulam Anoshim. Kulam Anoshim means they were all tzaddikim. They were all righteous. So what happened to them? They reached the point where they said, Lo na'aleh, we're not going to be able to be successful. Rashi says, they were kofar be'ikra. They reached the point they denied God completely. How? What happened to them? What happened to them? Says the Chassam Sofer, you know what happened to them? They went to Israel. Because if you go there, and your heart is impure, and you have a bad intention, you have a evil, a rotten seed in your heart, it will sprout in the land. It will become worse. It's Mekadesh HaKadoshim. You have somebody who goes, look, many people go there to learn for a year or two, and they reach very high levels in Eretz Yisrael. But on the other hand, it has the unique ability to be Metamei Satmeim. Why is that? Because without the air of Torah in Eretz Yisrael, the land is Eretz Ocheles Yoshvah. So here the Meraglim go into the land. God told them it's a good land. But what are they supposed to do? They see everybody's dropping dead like flies. They see all these giants are growing there. How's that possible? Didn't Hashem say it was a good land? Yeah, it's a wonderful land. If you open up the windows, you open up the doors, you let some air of Torah come in, it's a wonderful land. But right now the windows are all boarded up and the doors are all closed, and it's stifling, you're choking. Without spiritual Torah in Eretz Yisrael, the land not only is not a good land, it's Eretz Ocheles Yoshvah. We'll end off, let's read number 9, it's very important. We could explain. That which the Meraglim said, Hihi Eretz Ocheles Yoshvah, that it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. Lo yamru shakar. They weren't lying. They weren't lying. Ki Eretz Yisrael lifnei shabo b'nei Yisrael sham. Before the Jews got to Israel, ha'isa be'emes Eretz Ocheles Yoshvah. In truth, it consumed its inhabitants. And that which God said it's a good land. Ein tov el Torah. When he said tov haaretz, what's tov? Ein tov el Torah. If you have Torah in the land, then it's a good land. Zed doma. You know what this is like? You know what the analogy is? Kamo she'echa nichnas labayis. Somebody enters a house. Shahaya sagur masugar. It's completely sealed up. V'lo haya makom she'ikanis hayada avir tzach. There's no room for air to come in, right? So the house is sealed. It's the most beautiful house in the world, the most expensive mansion in the world. His chalitzah, the guy goes in there, he's choking to death. He starts to scream. How could you live in such a house? I don't care how much the carpet costs, how much the chandelier costs. There's no air. There's no air. Amar lo Hashemi, the second guy tells him, he says, Chacham from the Manashtano, you're missing something. All you have to do is take the boards off the windows. Shoita! You see it's a wonderful house. The Gavaya with high ceilings. It's wonderful to live in. The reason why the air isn't good? Because all the doors and windows are locked. All you have to do, niftach hadlasa, is open up the doors. Open up the windows. Change the air. Turn on the AC. You'll see what a wonderful house it is. The tiresh tov lagorkan. You'll see how wonderful it is to live there. Kach am Eretz Yisrael. It's the same thing with Eretz Yisrael. B'li ha-Torah, without Torah learning, ein avir. There's no air. There's no air. L'chein hi oichelas yishva. That's why it consumed its inhabitants. Avol kishavnei Yisrael yikansu sham. When the Jews enter there, am ha-Torah, the nation of the Torah, yischali fo avir. You get an air purifier. They put new air in. They inject Torah into the ecosystem. They change the atmosphere. Ki ha'avir shel Eretz Yisrael hi ha'Torah. The Torah is the air of the land of Israel. Ha'avir ha'tivi shel ha'Torah. That's the natural air. Ubeli ha'Torah. Without Torah, yi'efshel lichios be'Eretz Yisrael. It's impossible to live in the land. Beli avir shel Torah. Without the air of Torah, hi Eretz ochelas yoshveha. It's a land that consumed its inhabitants. So God told them around them, it's a wonderful land, it's a beautiful land. But on the other hand, they were missing something. What they were missing is they didn't recognize the fact that before the Jews entered the land, physically it was wonderful, but there was no avir, there's no air. You can't live in such a land. And Gabi pointed out, I'll read to you something very interesting. This is a phenomenon throughout history. That when the Jews are in the land of Israel, right, the Middle East, what is it known as? The blank crescent, right? What is it called? The Fertile Crescent, right? It's the Middle East. It's one of the most lush lands in the world, especially in the north, right? In the Golan. Look what he writes. In 1867, Mark Twain visited the land of Israel. This is before most of the Olim came in the 20th century. Look what he writes. He says, we traverse some miles of desolate country, whose soil is rich enough, but is given wholly to weeds, a silent, mournful expanse. A desolation is here, that not even imagination can grace, with the pomp of life and action. We reached Tavor safely. Okay, now Tavor is in Galilee. It's one of the most fertile parts of Eretz Yisrael. We never saw a human being on the whole route. We pressed on towards our goal, Jerusalem. The further we went, the hotter it got, the more rocky and bare, repulsive and dreary the landscape became. There was hardly a tree or a shrub anywhere. Sound like Israel to you? No. Even the olive and the cactus, those fast friends of a worthless soil, had almost deserted the country. No landscape exists that is more tiresome to the eye than that which bound the approaches to Jerusalem. Is that Jerusalem today? Oh no. Jerusalem is mournful, dreary, lifeless. I would not desire to live there. So this is what we have. The land of Israel, it's Eretz Tova. It's the most lush land. It's the most wonderful land. But when the Jews are not there learning Torah, doing mitzvos, there's no air. You can't live. It's a desolate country. It's Eretz Ochelas Yoshveha. And what the Meraglim did not understand is that you want to conquer Israel, v'yasuru. V'yasuru, Rabbi Yitzchak says, comes from a lesson of Torah. You need to go there, learn the Torah, keep the Torah. That gives life to the country. That makes the country fertile. But before the Jews got there, it was true. It's Eretz Ochelas Yoshveha. When the Jews came, the country was transformed. And by the way, this is what the Navi predicts. The Navi predicts that when the Jews are on the land, The land will be fertile, it will be lush, it will be one of the most productive lands. When the Jews are exiled, God says that one of the most amazing phenomenon of history is that when the Jews leave the land all of a sudden becomes desolate. Imagine when Columbus discovered America, when they came to America, was it desolate? Of course not. The Indians it was a lush land. They grew corn and all kinds of grain, and it still is. There's no country in the world that you need a certain type of people to live there and do a certain type of activity for the country to be lush and fertile. But the land of Israel is different. It has a different type of air. The rest of the world, it has natural air. The land of Israel, the Avir is the Torah. It's the Yasuru, it's Canaan. So for the land to be successful, fertile, the Yasuru, it has to be a land of Torah. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.